Bonus content.
Is that it? That was the
That's
one
it.
thing?
That's the
Oh,
thing.
okay. This is like, before we record, I'm going to say, right when we start, I'm going to say one thing, bonus content. Hey, so Dustin, like we were in like the full interview we did, which was phenomenal. I mentioned like repurposing content from the standpoint of clips and
Mhm.
sending that to like Reels, TikToks or TikTok, however you say that, and Shorts like on YouTube. That's currently my biggest like lack, if you
Mm.
will. And it's because I feel like I already do so much. And on most of those platforms, like I already share regular content, and I'm like concerned. But there's two things. One, I'm concerned that it muddies the waters, and does it just become too much? It's just like blah. Here's always Alex, 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 right? It's annoying. And
Mhm.
two, how much of my time is that going to take when
Mhm.
I already know I can do what I'm doing now really well? And I'm afraid that if I spread it much more like thinner, then I'm not going to be as good at it. As someone who does this well, I would value very much so from your perspective.
I think your first point of like muddying the waters or oversaturation, you don't have to worry about it as much. I really like this example of just using TikTok and Twitter. TikTok and Twitter are both platforms you can post as much as you want and really be fine. Like the max you should probably post on Twitter is like 30 to 50 times a day, probably, right? TikTok is pretty similar in that regard. You can't really post too much. I don't really go more than like 10 times a day myself, but that's only because I have so much content I need to get out personally. And you might be the same way if you start repurposing a lot of clips from your old shows too, because I had a lot in my backlog. I'm trying to catch up. When it comes to what was the other one, the second one there? You're talking about.
The actual, so that's good to know that how much you can share. Do you real quick? Do you find it's the same on Reels and on Shorts, or like should I spend
Ooh,
less?
so yeah, no. So that's a good question. Shorts, it really doesn't matter how much you post on there. I feel like because unless it's bugging the notifications too much, which I don't think you really get notifications for Shorts on YouTube like 9 times out of 10. So you really don't have to worry about bugging your audience that way. And if anything, I actually feel like it's really good because some people I've talked to, like my uncle, for example, and other people have said they've seen my shorts on their homepage on
Interesting.
that shorts
Okay.
bar. And I think it's because I'm posting so much. If I didn't post as much, they probably wouldn't compete with their other subscriptions.
That's a good point because I actually only post one or two videos a week,
Mm-hmm.
typically one, sometimes two. So I guess it couldn't hurt if I can stay top of mind the other days. So maybe like I'll just as a start because I don't have a ton of that content right now. Like
Yeah.
Tuesday I'll keep for my main video, and then the rest of the week I can just kind of pull clips from it.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And then last one, Reels on
So Reels, you have to be careful. There's two feeds. There's the main feed and then there's the
right.
Reels feed.
Mhm.
And I made the mistake of posting to my main feed. And if I was just posting like once a day, it probably wouldn't have been a big deal. But I was posting, at that time, at least 7 times a day. And it was going to the main feed. And so I actually lost
Interesting.
followers
Right,
because of
because
that.
it's annoying because it's showing up all the time. That's what I'm
Mhm.
afraid of. But you're saying if I post I know there's multiple tabs. I post to a reel, it's not showing up to the same group, right?
So you have to turn it off. I don't know how to do it per se. I think on the app it's a lot easier. On desktop, you can't really do it very easily. On the tool I use to schedule my stuff out, there's a little checkbox that says post to the main feed or post to just Reels feed. And I always check that box off, so I'm only posting to the Reels feed because that feed you can post as much as you want. It's the main feed you want to save more for your pictures or carousels and that kind of thing.
Cool. Good to know. Okay, cool. The second part of that question was the amount of time this is going to take.
Yeah.
Man, I'll be real. Like as content creators, I know what kills a content creator is muddying the waters and doing too much. Like if I can
Mhm.
do one thing great, that's better than doing five things mediocre, right? And so I'm concerned that if I start to do this, like, am I looking at getting half the time that I'm currently spending on creating good content, and now it's creating more content? Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Well, you're worried about the. So a lot of people use this phrase incorrectly. They say the jack of all trades, master of none, and they say it like it's a negative connotation, but it actually continues. But oftentimes better than a master of one. By diversifying, you actually end up having more opportunities, more great things happen to you, and your question is framed in that first part of that jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
You're worried about spreading yourself too thin. If you were just starting out, then yes, I would be concerned about that. I've looked at that as myself as a polymathic content creator. Like, am I spreading myself too thin? Am I doing too much? But in reality, we've had so much experience. We know what we're doing. Like I'm saying, you and I in particular, enough to where even if we add another thing, as long as we're managing our time right and you're an entrepreneur and founder, like you obviously have your business stuff to take care of as well. As long as you're getting your business stuff done and you're not feeling like you're burning out too much, I don't think the time difference is that crucial. If you were less skilled, I'd be more worried about it.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. If you had to start on just one of these platforms, which one would you say? Knowing what I do in podcasting, you're in a similar lane. Which of these
Mhm.
platforms would you say would be the most ripe for opportunity?
Well, and we've talked on the main interview about syndication. Syndication makes it easier just to be on all of them. I'm really kind of torn between TikTok and Reels, ironically, despite the fact YouTube's kind of more of your bigger thing when it comes to Podmatch and stuff like that. Um, Shorts is pretty easy to just bulk upload, whereas with TikToks and Reels, you have to use like a tool to do it. And TikTok is in a weird place right now where they're trying to push for more longer form stuff, and I'm kind of excited about that. But when it comes to short form content, it's still pretty great. And right now, TikTok's still one of the dominating platforms, even though I feel like it's dying down because of the whole music licensing stuff going on, stuff like that. Here's some news for you all. But the other thing is like Instagram is one of those places where if you can get really good at Instagram, that still looks really good on you as a creator. If you want to get somebody on your show or you want to use like your social leverage to do that, Instagram is one of the best places to have that.
Cool. That's good to know, man. Yeah, and I appreciate because at the end of the day, like I said, I like to be everywhere, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
currently the one thing I'm missing is clips and things like that. Like there's written content everywhere, so I don't do a whole lot on TikTok and stuff like that at the moment because that's the only
I see
option.
you on like LinkedIn though, for example.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I show up really well on specifically Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter are three places
Mm-hmm.
I do very well from a traction standpoint. It's the more video first platforms I don't do as well right now. So I think this is my next like next natural progression of how I get better is to start doing this stuff. So it's great to hear from somebody who really is doing it well on what's working, how to do it, because it inspires me to get out there and give it a shot.
Well, I got one more thing for you before we wrap this video up. Is that I'll just tell you how I do it. For
Yeah,
example,
please. Yeah, that'd be super.
um, I like full disclosure. I'm a brand partner with Opus Clips, so obviously I'm gonna like shout them out. There's plenty of tools out there, but even if I didn't work with them, I would still think that they're the best tool in the market right now. I've tried all the other ones, and the problem is they don't make enough clips. Like if you put in this hour-long interview that we did right into other tools, you might get 5 to 10 clips. Opus gives you like 30, and across the board, regardless of the tool, you end up getting like 80% usage rate. I feel like, and it's getting better with even just any of them. But regardless, 80% usage. If you're only getting 10 clips, that means you're only getting like 7 or 8 clips versus the 23 from Opus, and being able to format them the right way. A lot of the tools only let you cut out one person and they switch between you and me, whereas I want to have you on top and me right here. So I use that tool to make my clips. In fact, out of the 130 interviews that I've done, I've gone through all of them in there. I made 1,500 clips at this point, which is
Wow.
insane.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to post all of them. So how do I do that? Well, I need to be in bulk. Every single social media management tool, except for one, uses a CSV method to do bulk upload, right? So you have to like make a CSV with a certain format, put a link in there, upload everything to Google Drive first or Dropbox, then put the Google Drive link into each line for each video. It's very tedious. I did not like that. Publer is a tool that allows you to do social media management, but they do a bulk upload that allows you to just drag and drop from your computer. And so I just do like 15, maybe 30 if I'm really pushing it at a time. Put my hashtags in. Opus already comes up with the title. I just use that because I don't want to waste time on doing a lot of that. And I just schedule out to TikTok Shorts and Reels and Pinterest and call it a day.
That's amazing, man. I hope that you have some sort of resource where I can see all those things and use your affiliate links along with anyone who ends up watching or listening to this, because I want that. So those two tools you mentioned are probably my next step. So, dude, this was super helpful for me. Thank you.
Thanks for prompting me because I'm better when people ask me questions.
Aren't
All
we
right.
all?
Yeah.